are coming to you tonight from the Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina. This is the CNN YouTube debate.
Mrs. Clinton, how would you define the word liberal? And would you use this word to describe yourself?
I prefer the word progressive, which has a real American meaning, going back to the progressive era at the beginning of the 20th century. I consider myself a proud, modern American progressive, and I think that's the kind of philosophy and practice that we need to bring back to American politics.
So you wouldn't use the word liberal, you'd say progressive.
The question is, do you believe that compromise, triangulation will bring about big change? I don't. I think the people who are powerful in Washington, big insurance companies, big drug companies, big oil companies, they are not going to negotiate. They are not going to give away their power. The only way that they're going to give away their power is if we take it away from them.
Senator Obama, how do you address those who say you're not authentically black enough? Hey, well, not my question, Jordan's question.
You know, when I'm catching a cab in Manhattan in the past, I think I've given my credentials. But let me go to the broader issue here, and that is that race permeates our society. It is still a critical problem, but I do believe in the core decency of the American people.
Senator Edwards said his opposition to gay marriage is influenced by his Southern Baptist background. Most Americans agree it was wrong and unconstitutional to use religion to justify slavery, segregation, and denying women the right to vote. So why is it still acceptable to use religion to deny gay Americans their full and equal rights?
I think Reverend Longcrier asks a very important question, which is whether fundamentally, whether it's right for any of our faith beliefs to be imposed on the American people when we're President of the United States. I personally have been on a journey on this issue. I feel enormous conflict about it. As I think a lot of people know, my wife Elizabeth spoke out a few weeks ago, and she actually supports gay marriage. I do not. But this is a very, very difficult issue for me, and I recognize and have enormous respect for people who have a different view of it.
Reverend, do you feel he answered your question?
Not like I would like to have heard it.
Where we can, America must. Why Darfur? Because we can. We should now. Those kids will be dead by the time the diplomacy is over. I'm not joking. I've been to that camp. I walked through that camp. You know what happened when I landed? When I landed and the dust settled, a young African aid worker came up to me and he looked at me and he said, "Thank you. Thank you, America, for coming." You don't understand. They don't understand. They think we can save them, and guess what? We can.
I know of no other way we're going to convince the political and religious leaders in Iraq to take seriously their responsibility to decide to form a nation state or not. I think by saying with clarity here that we are withdrawing and redeploying our forces out of there, robustly pursuing diplomacy, which we have not done at all here. This administration treats statecraft and diplomacy as if it were a gift to your opponents here. We need to have a program here that allows us to become much more engaged in the region. The answer on Darfur isn't just
No, let's not go to Darfur.
Well, no, because Iraq is related to Darfur, Anderson, here. It's because we're bogged down there at $10 billion a month. We've lost our moral leadership in the world. No one listens to us when it comes to foreign policy. That has to change in this country.
I like the question. I don't get very many of them, but I'll just tell you, thank you. Has it been fair thus far? I'll tell you, John, it's a set-up question. Our soldiers died in Vietnam in vain. You can now, John, go to Hanoi and get a Baskin-Robbins ice cream cone. That's what you can do. And now we have most favored nation trade. What did all these people die for? What are they dying for right now in Iraq every single day? Let me tell you, there's only one thing worse than a soldier dying in vain. It's more soldiers dying in vain.
The White House agreeing that the Iraqi parliament, could take a month-long vacation because it was too hot, while our men and women are putting their lives on the line every day. Here's my question. While the Iraqi parliament is in vacation, is George Bush going to be on vacation in Crawford, Texas? What we need to do is turn up the heat on George Bush and hold him responsible and make this president change course. It is the only way he will change course. He will never change course unless he's made to do it.
Would you be willing to meet separately, without precondition, during the first year of your administration in Washington or anywhere else, with the leaders of Iran, Syria, Venezuela, Cuba, and North Korea, in order to bridge the gap that divides our countries?
I would. And the reason is this, that the notion that somehow not talking to countries is punishment to them, which has been the guiding diplomatic principle of this administration, is ridiculous.
Well, I will not promise to meet with the leaders of these countries during my first year. I will promise a very vigorous diplomatic effort, because I think it is not that you promise a meeting at that high a level before you know what the intentions are.
Dear presidential candidates, see those 3 flags over my shoulder? They covered the coffins of my grandfather, my father, and my oldest son. Someday mine will join. I do not want to see my youngest sons join them. By what date after January 21st, 2009, will all U.S. troops be out of Iraq?
6 months, but no residual forces. Senator Clinton has a plan that I understand is maybe 50,000 residual forces. Our troops have become targets.
There's not a single military man in this audience who will tell this senator he can get those troops out in 6 months if the order goes today. Let's start telling the truth. Number one, you take all the troops out, you better have helicopters ready to take those 3,000 civilians inside the green zone where I've been 7 times and shot at. You better make sure you have protection for them or let them die.
Joe is right. You know, I have done extensive work on this, and the best estimate is that we can probably move a brigade a month if we really accelerate it, maybe a brigade and a half or 2 a month. That is a lot of months. My point is they're not even planning for that in the Pentagon. We don't want more loss of American life and Iraqi life as we attempt to withdraw, and it is time for us to admit that it's going to be complicated, so let's start it now.
Senator Gravel, how do you get Americans to conserve?
Very simple. Change our tax structure. Have a fair tax where people are taxed on what they spend rather than what they earn. And our tax system is totally corrupt right now. And so if we now have a retail sales tax, you'll take this nation of ours from a consuming nation to a savings nation.
If you're elected to serve, would you be willing to do this service for the next 4 years and be paid the national minimum wage?
I have 2 young daughters here. I'm trying to educate them. I don't think I can live on the minimum wage, but I'm a strong advocate for seeing to it that we increase it.
Senator Edwards?
Yes.
Yes? Senator Clinton?
Sure.
Senator Obama?
Well, we can afford to work for the minimum wage because most folks on this stage have a lot of money. It's the folks on that screen who deserve. You're doing all right, Chris. Compared to, I promise you, the folks on that screen.
Well, not that well.
I'll take that. I mean, we don't have Mitt Romney money, but we could afford to do it for a few years. Most folks can't, and that's why we've got to fight and advocate for the kinds of books.
Governor Richardson, yes?
Yes, I would.
Okay, Senator Biden?
I don't have Barack Obama money either.
I was also wondering if any of the other candidates had a problem with the same 2 families being in charge of the executive branch of government for 28 consecutive years if Hillary Clinton were to potentially be elected and then re-elected.
Well, I think it is a problem that Bush was elected in 2000, and you know, I actually thought somebody else was elected in that election, but, you know, obviously I'm running on my own merits, but I'm very proud of my husband's record as President of the United States.
I am proud of my Christian faith, and it informs what I do. But I am a strong believer in the separation of church and state, and I think that we've got to translate. By the way, I support it not just for the state, but also for the church, because that maintains our religious independence, and that's why we have such a thriving religious life. But what I also think is that we are under obligation in public life to translate our religious values into moral terms that all people can share, including those who are not believers.
Tell me your position on gun control, as myself and other Americans really want to know if our babies are safe. This is my baby.
I'll tell you what, if that's his baby, he needs help.
I admire what Senator Clinton has done for America, what her husband did for America. Not sure about that coat.
Senator Clinton?
Yeah, John, it's a good thing we're ending soon.
I don't like a damn thing about him. No, I'm only kidding. Only kidding. Dennis and I have been friends for 25 years. I think this is a ridiculous exercise. Dennis, the thing I like best about you is your wife.
And Congressman Kucinich talking about Senator Gravel.
Wait a minute, he talked about my wife.
Well, your thoughts on
You
Gravel?
notice what CNN did. They didn't put anybody to the left of me. Think about it.
I'm not
Senator
sure it'd be
Gravel,
possible to
peace.
find anybody.
Senator, and you know what? And you won't.